I love Tom Bodett. And the guy who did that too. So, I've loved this series. We're getting close to the end this week and next week, and we kind of wrap it up. And I don't know if I've told a few of you this, but it has been quite an experience for me to go through this. And God has done a lot of work in my own life. And I got to tell you, one of the things about going through something like this, you always find something that's relatable, something that always you find for yourself in there. And I wish I could listen to what you guys have picked up on, things that have stood out to you. I just know what's stood out to me and what God has given me to share with you guys. But I got to tell you, I know my words are just limited by my own experience. But I would love to hear that from some of you. And I want you to feel free to get in touch with me. You can do that through the church app, or you can call the church office, whatever you'd like to do, and leave a message, send an email, whatever you want to do. It's pretty simple to get a hold of me, and I would love to hear from you about what this message has meant. You can even post, if you'd like, on our social media pages. I'd love to hear from you. Today, we're going to talk about something a little different. The last few weeks, it's always been the you're doing this okay, but then there's there's a problem. And today actually is one of the few churches, it's actually one of two, that actually had only positives from Jesus. If you remember, John was one of Jesus' closest disciples. He was exiled to, and see if anybody remembers, okay? And if you're a guest here, don't worry, this isn't a quiz for you, okay? But if you've been here last week, what was the island? Anybody just shout it out, I don't care. Patmos, very good. I like that. I don't know who said that down there, but you get a candy bar. And so Patmos was the place. It was an island just off the coast of what we know as modern-day Turkey, Asia Minor back then, and there were 7 churches. There were more than that, but there were 7 churches located there that John had been affiliated with, one in particular. And so he had spent a lot of time, but he was a preacher of the gospel. He would tell people about Jesus being raised from the dead. And the Roman government felt that was a threat, so they put him on the island of Patmos to keep him away from everybody else. They didn't execute him, which that was a bonus. It allowed him to still be able to live and be able still to have that testimony of his life of following Jesus and who he was. But yet, he was on Patmos. And so while he's there, he is actually interacting with Jesus like he did every day, like we should do every day. And as he's doing that, he's interacting with him, and Jesus actually appears to him. The resurrected Jesus appears to him. And, sometimes that's like, oh, I don't know if I can believe Jesus just appeared like that. I don't know. Well, he rose from the dead. If he can raise from the dead, I think he can appear whenever he wants to. All right? And so he appeared to John, and John, he says, you got to write this down. I want them to know it. And he gave an illustration. As John saw him, he saw Jesus as if he was walking among lampstands. And these lampstands, all of them, are ones that you would see, they were ones that they would have used, probably more like this, an open flame kind of thing, but it would give off light. And each one of those lamps represented a church, one of the churches that Jesus wanted John to write a letter to, and they all got to read each other's mail. So it was all in one big letter, so everybody got to see it. So even the words that are written to the church at Philadelphia, all right, not Pennsylvania, all right, but over in Asia Minor. And he wrote this to Philadelphia. All the churches got to see what they had going for them. And today we're going to find out that sometimes bigger is not always better, all right? And that's exactly what sometimes we have this mentality or thought. And so we're going to look at this. I want to first, though, ask you if you see an open door here in just a second. I'm going to put it on the screen. If you see an open door, tell me yes or no. Okay? And the other of you, are you awake or did you not see it? Okay? This is not an eye test. It shouldn't be that hard to see. How many of you see an open door right in front of you here? Okay, good. Thank you very much. I feel a little more appreciated. All right. So how many of you see, though, a closed door in front of you? Okay, good. So that tells me you can recognize open doors and closed doors. I got to tell you, sometimes I don't recognize them very well. And I don't mean these literal kind of doors. I'm talking about the kind of things that are associated with opportunity. You know what I'm talking about? When an opportunity is in front of you, opportunity is one of those things that we consider and we look at. So I want to put the word up here, and I want you to say it with me, all right? Say it with me. Opportunity. All right, now, opportunity, is some of them are good opportunities, and some of them are not so good, okay? We all have experienced good opportunities and bad opportunities, but many times we see them as open doors. And sometimes the opportunities are shut off from us because the door is closed. We can't get through. So many of us have had open doors given to us many times or presented to us. And I believe that there is an important thing about this, because every one of us needs to remember how important it is, okay? How important it is to look for those open doors. And as a church, it's important to look for the open doors. So not only that, but sometimes we see the open doors in front of us. Sometimes, though, we see shut doors, doors that are closed right in front of us that we can't get through. And some of us, if you're like me, believe that if you wanted that door open, you maybe have even prayed for that door to open. And if it doesn't open, what's the best way to do it? If you do the Greg Trout method, you try to kick it in. Okay? But I believe that if you're listening to God, if you're listening to what Jesus has for you in your life, then those open doors that you're looking for, He will open. And for the ones that are shut, you're going to know better, because I believe this: Jesus opens doors that no one can shut. That is something you're going to hear throughout what we talk about today. When Jesus opens a door in front of you, that opportunity that He's wanting you to go through, or He's wanting even us as a church to go through, then we need to be ready, because the church of Philadelphia, they knew exactly what that was like. There had been a door open to them, and we're going to find out all about it. Let's go to Revelation chapter 3. And we find this letter written in verses 7 to 13 of the church at Philadelphia. And it's all positive. It's all good stuff. This church had some good things going. And it may not be what you think. Sometimes we measure a church for the things they do or they have, or the buildings they meet in, or whatever. And we think of it being in a powerful place, or maybe the way they do things, or how much money they have, or how, all these things we think of as making a good church. But Philadelphia, for some reason, Jesus was on their side about what they were doing. So let's find out. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write. You know, the angel was the messenger, right? The one who Jesus was writing to, or making sure that this messenger was able to convey it to the church. And that was probably the pastor, or an elder, or a leader in the church. So to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these are the words of Him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What He opens, no one can shut. And what He shuts, no one can open. Let's talk about Philadelphia a little bit, just so that I can get my history geekiness out, all right? I like the history of what this place was like. Last week, we talked about a town that had all kinds of issues with earthquakes and problems that were going on there. They had an earthquake that had destroyed them at one time, and they had to rebuild. Well, Philadelphia was in a place where there was a fault, and so they would feel aftershocks and shocks of small earthquakes all the time, to the point that most people didn't live inside Philadelphia. They would come into Philadelphia to work and to do the things they would do, to do the shopping or whatever. They would come in there for the social activities they would do. They would come in there for that, but they would move out to the suburbs, if you will, of Philadelphia, to make sure that they weren't in the line of that when they were sleeping and couldn't get out of harm's way if an earthquake came. And so Philadelphia was like that. In Philadelphia also, one of the things you need to know is it was probably the furthest out. It was kind of more the country church. It was the small town. It was kind of out there where there wasn't as many people, and it was smaller, and it had just kind of its own sense there of being what it was. It wasn't the fanciest of towns. It was kind of maybe the one that wasn't high on everybody's tourist list, okay? They didn't run there because, oh, yeah, you got to go there. Not like some of the other cities. Not like Ephesus or like Thyatira. Those kind of places were places that people wanted to go. They wanted to see what was there. They wanted the look and the things. You know, Philadelphia was kind of a low-key place, kind of quiet. That country church maybe that they had formed in this area. And so they didn't have all the things. They didn't have necessarily a lucrative inflow of money or whatever that was coming into the church. They just didn't have it. And so they had to be probably creative. They had to do things differently. A lot of people know, anybody know what the word Philadelphia usually is known for? Or at least Philadelphia, Pennsylvania would be known for, or it's called. Anybody know? Yeah, friendly, or the city of brotherly love. And brotherly love is actually something you'll not see anything written in these verses. Jesus never addresses. This was a great church because they just had such brotherly love. We don't know where the name came from. It does look for all the different ways. Maybe it could have been the people who founded the town, but Jesus never addresses them as being a church that was just full of brotherly love. So if you were thinking, oh yeah, that's the church of brotherly love. Well, no, not really, not according to Jesus. That's not what he said was the most important thing. Now maybe they wanted the town to be that, and that's why they named it when they began, but actually the city was named 3 times before they landed on this one. Okay? So who knows where this came from, but that's all about Philadelphia, all right? I'll give you all of that. So these are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. When we see this just means that Jesus was the one who was there to become the Messiah that was promised all the way back, came from the line of David. He was the one that had the key basically to get it all started and to keep it going. And he is the one who holds it. That's Jesus. He's holy. He's true. Without sin, and there's not one error about him or in his word. And so what he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. That's authority. All right? That's authority. So he was staying and making it clear, look, I'm the one that has the power to open the doors, and I have the power to shut the doors. And when I shut a door, nobody's opening it. Okay? It's shut. It's done. So don't try to kick it in. Okay? Don't try to open it. Don't stand there over and over again thinking that that's what you've got to do because you want to go through that particular door. You think that's what it was. He's just telling them, look, I have the authority to do this. Matter of fact, the verses even go on and it says, I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. He had given them this opportunity. Their deeds. Every time we see one of the churches that was written here in Revelation about the deeds that they did, their deeds had to do with how they were conducting themselves and how the church was going and how they were actually supposed to interact with each other. So there could have been good things going on. The deeds means that they were actually performing like a church should perform. And I think we said it last week, but every time a church doesn't operate like this and doesn't have the deeds, then people do get hurt. It happens. And it happens on a regular basis where people, when there's not the right kind of deeds, when there's not the right kind of approach to the church and how the church should go. And so when we get away from it, people get hurt. And so he says right here, I've placed before you an open door. There's an open door for the church of Philadelphia. There's an opportunity there for them, and no one's going to shut that. There's not going to be any government that's going to come in and shut that door. There's not going to be any influences. Satan is not going to come in and try to shut that door because Jesus opened it. He's going to keep it open. Okay? It's not like a door you prop and can be opened up whenever you want and shut whenever you want and propped open, all that. It's not like that. Jesus opened the door. It was an opportunity for this church and how they were going to relate to those around. Now, there are just some principles of life that come out of this that just tell me, and quite honestly, they slapped me in the face. When I saw it, I thought of times in my life where God had put open doors in front of me, and I was either too fearful or scared. I didn't want to go through that door because I knew what was going to happen. Sometimes it was because I was lazy, and I would say, oh, if I walk through that door, it's going to be a lot of work. If I go through that door, it's going to cause me maybe some pain or suffering. It's going to cause me to have to break some old habits in my life if I go through that door. I'm going to have to change. I can't just be the same old guy and just go about my life comfortably. It's going to be inconvenient if I go through that door. So I have been scared of that. There have been times, though, where there have been doors that I thought I should get to go through. You know, the ones that I thought were owed to me. The things that I thought I should be able to do. I should be able to do that. Why can't I do that? Everybody else seems to be going through a door like that. Why can't I go through a door like that? And so I would have arguments. I can remember having arguments with God. Why can't you let me go through that door? Why can't I have that? And then I go up and God said, it's shut, Greg. Keep going. Move on. There's other open doors. There's doors that are perfect for you to go through. I would still look at that door and say, I don't think you're right. I think I need to go through that. Let me just tell you, life principles are this. When Jesus opens a door for us, we should jump at the opportunity to walk through it. I mean, jump at the opportunity. Because if God is doing this for us, He has everything in mind. He will supply everything you need. He'll give you peace. He'll provide His presence and His power to do whatever's on the other side of that door. He never calls you to do something and then shuts the door behind you, you know. He doesn't slam it in your face. He doesn't say, go ahead, don't let me hit you where I split you. Okay? Did you catch that? All right. When Jesus opens a door, though, for us, we should jump at that opportunity. Every time we have that opportunity should be opportunity for us to not pass up. But on top of that, when Jesus shuts a door, when He shuts a door, we should quit trying to kick it in. Standing there, it slows us down. It's like, no, but I'm supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to be with this person, or I'm supposed to have that job, or I'm supposed to live in that city, or I'm supposed to, get the point? I'm supposed to be happy. Not one guarantee in any of Scripture that God's going to make you happy. I'm sorry. If that blew up or popped your bubble, I can tell you this life is broken. Someday we will not only have joy, but we'll be happy because we'll be in the presence of Jesus if you know Him and you've trusted Him. Okay? That'll be happy. Okay? But I can tell you right now, things are not always going to be happy. And if you think that you've got to kick a door down that God has shut to get happy, you'll never be happy trying to do that. And He's just reminding them, these people of Philadelphia, look, I've got an open door in front of you. Now, I think the open door is really what the emphasis was, that Jesus is trying to make clear. But I just want to make sure we understand this, because we miss out. I believe we miss out when we think we know the open door that Jesus should be opening for us. When we think we know more than He does about the doors that should be opened in front of us, and we're missing it. We miss completely. And so we've got to take the time to be in touch with Him and spend time with Him. Like our 29 hours of prayer experience that we're trying to do this week and we're going to do this week and be a part of, whether you're here or whether you're doing it on your own. Either way, all of that, those are important ways to hear from Him, to know what the open doors are and what the shut doors are. So the more time we spend with Him, the more we see it. So let's just remember, okay? I'm not going to bring up the shut doors anymore, okay? But it's enough for us to remember, right? So we go back to the passage and it says, I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. When he says little strength, it doesn't talk about them not being strong. They're not strong in this way. They're small in number. It's not a large, vast, mega church among the churches in Asia Minor. It's not one of those that has lots of resources. It's not one of those that has a lot, but they have a lot going for them. They don't have a lot at their access. That's really what it means here. It doesn't mean that they weren't strong. It means that their way of living out, they had very little to strengthen what they were doing. And so I'm sure that Jesus was saying, look, I know that you have little. I know that. I'm the one who gave it to you. Yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. They stayed faithful to the message of what they were trying to do. They were being very, very clear. And so they had been given an incredible opportunity. Verses go on, I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are liars. Anybody who was trying to say that they had the right religion out there, it just came down to it. Jesus was straight with them. He said, they're just lying. They're lying about you. They're telling lies about what you're doing. You don't have to feel like you've got to defend this. I've given you the truth to share. So don't be afraid of those who might pull you away. He says, I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. Let me tell you something, okay? This is not what some people have made it out to be, that everybody out there is going to come to us and tell us how right we are, okay? And those of us who kind of walk around with this kind of thing where we're expecting everyone else to bow at our feet because we're Christians and we have this message of good news to them, but we want them to acknowledge how bad they've treated us, okay? I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to warn us. Can I warn us about something? This coming year, in this year, we're going to hear a lot of that. We're going to hear people who are walking the faith, people who are Christians, people who are standing for the gospel. You know what's going to happen? They're going to use their ideology and their politics and their sense of what is right and wrong, not necessarily God's. And they're going to put that out there, and they're going to use that as a measuring stick to whether someone is really in the kingdom, whether or not they really follow God or not. And we've seen it happen over and over again. It seems to be in our country, it's a polarizing time when an election comes up. I'm just warning us ahead of time. Let's be ready for it. Let's don't let ourselves compromise on Jesus' message of it. He is not saying that this is going to be a time where he's going to make them all come here. Let me just tell you, it's all about the fact that if you follow Jesus, everyone will see. If you're following based on the deeds that he's done, he is not going to leave us hanging. So don't think you've got to go out there and kick a door down to let everybody know where you stand. Jesus has already done that. All we have to do is live by that. And when we do, then people will begin to acknowledge it. And you'll see how that develops here the more we say the verses. In the next one, as it says, since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come on the whole world to test the inhabitants of the earth. Now, I could really get into a lot of explanation here. And a lot of you are like, all right, Revelation, finally. Finally, now's the juicy, meaty stuff. Let me tell you something. Yes, the book is full. Scripture is full of prophecy, things that are coming, judgments where God is going to make everything right. Jesus will return. Matter of fact, we'll see that in just a second, where he says this. There will be a time where the earth and everything that has been going on here will be judged. It will be taken care of. God will win. So when he says that in the verse before about how people will finally come to a point and they'll know that if we were standing for Jesus, that we were right, now's not the time to get in their face and wag the finger and tell them how right we are. Now's the time to love on them and to tell them, come with us, because there's going to come a time when Jesus comes back and he will make it right, and you can't wag your finger in his face. Now, make sense? That's why he said what he did. It wasn't about the fact that right then and there people were going to come flooding to the Philadelphia church and say, oh, you guys were right. You're so righteous and so wonderful. And we're so sinful. That's not what they were doing. That was not going to happen. It won't happen in this life. It's not going to be that way. The only way we make a difference is by showing the love of Christ through his grace so that we build a relationship to be able to share the truth with other people. That's the only way it works. But in a day coming, Jesus will make it all right. And everyone will know what was right and what was wrong and all of that. And you know what? Do you really want people coming and bowing at your feet? I'd a lot rather them know him and bow at his feet. So think about this. When a door is opened, then power and protection are provided. We're always on the winning side. When we follow Jesus, we're always on the winning side, even if it feels like we're losing, okay? And Jesus had a lot to say about winning and losing too. And what seems like winning maybe isn't winning. So the whole idea is that if he opens the door in front of us to go forward, he's always going to bring power and protection, and he's going to provide for us. You know why? Because he's made a promise that he is not going to let up on. He's got a plan for it. It's not like he's sitting up there like, okay, let's roll the dice today and see if this is it. All right? He doesn't do that. He doesn't spin the wheel of fortune and say, all right, is this the time? Nope, not today. He has a plan. He knows the day. He knows the hour. He knows all of it when this is going to happen. Jesus told John to write this down and tell the church of Philadelphia, but all the people, this: I am coming, say the word, soon. You might say, well, that was written thousands of years ago, right? Wasn't that written a long time ago? Yeah. If you remember, in God's plan, and this is something that was stated, in God's time clock, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So it's only been a couple days, right? It really hasn't been that long. And so if you're like saying, well, I can't believe this because if Jesus was really coming back, with all that's going on in the world, it should happen right now, right? Shouldn't it be happening right now? I see all the signs. There have been signs like this from the day Jesus went back to heaven. And so I'm not telling you that he's not coming back. He just said he's coming soon. So that's a warning to me. Not a warning. It's a, hey, I'm coming soon. You know, like when you hear from somebody you love in an email now or a text, and they say, hey, I'm coming over tonight. Or, hey, I'm coming in from Saskatchewan to visit. I haven't seen you forever. I can't wait to get there. You know? And you're like, oh, awesome, they're going to be here. And then you get the email, we just landed, be there soon. You know? It's this anticipation. Every one of us that know Jesus, listen, let me just tell you, it's not something to be fearful of or afraid of. When we see Jesus, life will all then begin to be, it all makes sense then. Okay? Because we'll see the creator of it all. And he'll make it clear to us. So he says, I'm coming soon. So what's he say to do in the meantime? Hold on. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown. See, crowns are promised to people who are serving him and following him. Crowns, and you might say, I don't even wear hats. I don't know if I want a crown. The point isn't that. Because we're going to get the opportunity to be given a crown as a reward, whether it's a real crown or whether it's something like that, but we're going to be able to give it right back to him and say, whew, thank you very much for all you did for me. I don't really deserve this. You deserve it, Jesus. So here's I did all this really for you, so, you know, this crown, and we all think we're going to get this star-studded diamonds and rubies and all this stuff. I'm be lucky if I got cubic zirconia on mine. You know? But whatever he gives me, I know it's the crown he offers me. And I know I'm going to have that opportunity to give it back to him. That's an incredible thing. He just says, hold on. Hold on to what you have. What you're doing right now, stay focused on this. Stay focused. You've got an open door in front of you. You've got an open door in front of you to follow what I said. Don't go trying to knock down shut doors. Don't try to do things that I haven't put in front of you. Don't try to be something you're not. Be what I have made you to be, as individuals and as the church. Don't try to be a church that's down the road. Don't try to do, you're right here. Just be who you are, what God's doing right here. That's incredible. It's so important. The verses go on, and I love this. The one who is victorious, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will they leave it. If you Google, you could do this morning, and I even challenge you to do it. Google any of those cities from this, and you're going to find that they show pictures of ruins, modern-day ruins, that are left from everything that was built there. And you know what's usually left? A lot of pillars. Pillars from different temples, pillars from buildings, all this. The pillars are left. That's what's still standing, because they put a lot of emphasis on building them strong so they would stand there. He says, I'm going to make you a pillar. I'm going to make the church of Philadelphia a pillar. I'm going to make the people in the church pillars. And remember, that meant a lot to them because they were in a city that was, they had earthquakes a lot. And so having something that was strong and stood and didn't topple over and everything, that was just saying to them, look, I'm going to make you have an incredible testimony of who I am in your life based on the fact that you followed me, you've held on, you've done the right thing. And then he wraps it up with this. He says, I will write on them the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God, and I will also write on them my new name. All of those statements, every bit of this, is going to be inscribed on each person's heart. The idea of being a pillar that's going to stand because you've held on, no matter what the situations, no matter what was there, I'm going to make you a pillar, and I'm going to put my name on it. And eventually, when I come back and Jesus is here, and he brings this idea of a new Jerusalem where he'll have a throne and sit on it just like he does in heaven now. He's going to be here on this earth, ruling and reigning, and all of that together, he says, you're going to be a pillar in that kingdom. You're going to be a pillar. You're going to stand up. You're going to be a part of it because you held on. You walked through the open door, the opportunity that was in front of you. You did it. Now, our responsibility is this. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Our responsibility is to hear this, to do something with it. So, you might say, Greg, you never said what the opportunity is. You never said what the open door is. You never said anything. Okay, let me just say this, okay? Jesus will use us if we go through the doors he opens. Every one of us in this room, God has put something in front of you to do to serve him. And some of you have decided that you would rather look at the open door or act like you don't recognize the open door. Or some of us have looked at it and mistaken it for a shut door. Or you've looked at it and said, I would prefer to go through and kick this shut door down. Because I know better than Jesus. Listen, if he opens a door in front of you, nobody can shut it. Don't be fearful. Don't be afraid. You've got a family member. You've got a coworker. You've got somebody you go to school with. You sit beside them in chemistry or, health class. You have opportunities to build into them, and it's an open door, an opportunity for you to invest in their life, and you're afraid. Are you sure? Because, Jesus, they're kind of happy with their kind of life, and I don't know, they need to, No. I think every time we have the opportunity, the church has been given opportunities too. The church has to make sure we put ourselves out there so that we're not just a social club just for Christians that just hang out together all the time and are happy with the friends we know, and we don't care about the world that's outside. The opportunity, the open door is right in front of us. When we walk out the doors that open, we walk out that door, and what do we see? What do we look for? We look for the place for us to share that message of Jesus with someone else. That's our responsibility. Matter of fact, it was kind of clear that in that case, Philadelphia, and the one little note I wanted to share with you at the end, Philadelphia was this town out there that was supposed to be an evangelistic town for the Greek culture. You might say, what? Yeah. They built that town out there. That's why they built it, was because there were a lot of people that didn't understand the Greek culture. They didn't know the Greek money system, and they didn't understand the way the Roman government and the Greeks were working together. So they put Philadelphia there to be a representative, to go out and to form this idea of that, to spread the news of the Roman Empire and the Greek culture. And so if you really apply that to the church, was the church not there to spread the news about a good kingdom, a new kingdom, a good news that Jesus had come and died for them and risen from the grave? They were that church to be that thing. It's an open door in front of all of us. An open door to be able to share what's out there. Who's that person in your life? What's that thing you've been putting off? What's the door you keep saying, I don't want that one open. I don't want to go through that door because I'm going to have to admit that I was wrong to talk to that person about Jesus. I'm going to have to give up some things that are convenient in my life so that I can talk to that person about Jesus. I'm going to have to give up maybe some traditions and religions like we sang about today. It may be time to surrender some of those things so that you can actually walk through that door and tell other people about this Savior that has saved your soul and has given you an incredible hope for new life. And He knows that little strength. He knows what you've got. He knows that you're limited. He knows what you have. He gave it to you. He gave it to us, all of us. He knows when, when I want to make excuses for why I can't do something. He knows. Oh, those excuses are pretty lame, Greg. That would be Jesus' letter to me. Your excuses are kind of lame, Trout. I don't think I know better. So for us, as a church, we need to be that church that unchurched people love. We need to be that church that lead people to a growing relationship with Jesus. And as individuals, we need to represent that wherever we go. So when we meet somebody that doesn't know Jesus, they're either totally irreligious or they may have had all kinds of religious tradition in their life. Just because they went to church when they were younger doesn't mean that they know Jesus personally. Listen, our responsibility is to invest in them and then invite them here and to share with them what God has done for us. That's the open door in front of us. That's the open door. We need to walk through it. Let me just tell you, I think Jesus has opened a door for Fair Creek to lead people to follow Him. I sense something fresh, something kind of new going on. We need to be ready to walk through that door. You with me? Let's be a church like Philadelphia. Let's be a church like the Philadelphian church. Even though He knows our little strength, He knows who we are, He knows what He can do in us and through us. That's the open door. Let's be like Philadelphia. Let me pray with us today. God, I know that we have been here this morning just listening, seeing. We saw Esther's testimony. God, what a sweet little girl. She is so ready to serve you and loves you, and she wants everybody around her to do the same. She's just very plain and simple about it. Why wouldn't everybody want to do this? God, I pray that that's exactly how we feel about the people around us, that we look at it as an open door. We're not afraid to walk through those doors of relationship with other people, so we invest in their lives so that they can come to know you. God, I pray you'll fill this place with guests that we all invite. God, you know the people on my list, the people I'm inviting. I pray, God, that you'll just allow them to become part of what we're doing. Help me to get past my fear. Help me to get past the laziness sometimes, the things that the inconvenience, God. Help me get past that and lay that at your feet. Surrender it and push on through that open door. I pray that for all of us, Lord. Thank you.